everyone, welcome back to AfroMD. So today I'm going to be answering a couple questions that I've been asked. Special shout out to Jasmine for asking me a variety of questions. So what I had in mind was to start a series of commonly asked questions that you guys have sent in. So the first one is, I wanted to know how much time you spend studying on average at med school. So in terms of studying, I think it really depends on what stage you are in, which preclinical, which is where you're doing all the book learning, versus your clinical time where you're doing clinical rotations. So preclinical, I think it really depended. There's a variety of different study tactics for people, but I typically like to study each day by day. So if I had like 3 hours of lecture, I would spend anywhere between like 3 to 4 hours reviewing that material. And we had exams every 2 weeks. So on average, each week, I would say I spent maybe about like 15 to 20 hours per week studying, and then obviously like the day before the exam I would study for most of the day as well. Clinical rotations looks a little different just because you are busy all the time, so but you still have to study for the shelf exams, which are like exams in each of the core rotations: pediatrics, psych, internal medicine, surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, and neuro. And for those, after you finish with your clinical day, you might go home and you might do a question block. So I would try to study then, maybe like 2 hours like a day. A lot of times that wouldn't happen because I'd come home and I'd be tired, but I think it really depends, and I can do a more in-depth video on my study skills, but I think just like for a cursory glance, that's how much I study. So the second question is medical school like undergrad, where if you fail a class, you have to take it over? The one thing that is really nice about med school is that since like they made such an investment in you, they really want everyone to succeed. So it's much less cutthroat than I would say than my undergrad experience was. So if you do fail like a subject, for example, you have the chance to just retake that test and retake that block, and then you're able to make it up, but you do have to make things up. In terms of clinical rotations, in the off chance that you were to like fail the shelf, you would have to like retake that to be able to pass the block. So the third question, is it possible to manage a job while in med school? It is very difficult. It would be very difficult to manage a job. I know people who had maybe like part-time hours that they were working, but I would say, especially when you first get to med school, it's really important to just like try to focus on what you're doing. Again, I mean, different things are possible for different people. Personally, I'm not working through med school. I mean, like at least upon arriving to medical school, I wouldn't necessarily like start a job that you weren't previously doing. I would kind of like see what your workflow is like and see if you're able to balance it before trying to add anything on. But in terms of like 40-hour work weeks, I don't know anyone in med school who is doing that. So the fourth question is, do professors have office hours? So at least at my med school, the way things work is that each lecture is given by a different researcher or a doctor or PhD. So there's not office hours in the same way, but I mean, there are definitely, like if you have a question, you can reach out to the lecturer, or you can reach out to the module director that's in charge of like the subject matter as a whole and like get answers to questions. But I've never had trouble getting answers either through the module director or that specific lecturer. So the fifth question, how does housing work? Is it apartment style where you have to pay each month, or can it be paid with a loan like tuition? So at NYU, about 90% of students live on campus at Billcheck Hall, and for that you actually pay, and it is they are apartments. You pay one lump sum in the fall and then one lump sum in the spring. So it's not like month to month you pay. You just pay twice for the year. And then the last question for this video is, how important is research on a med school application? And what about for NYU in particular? So I would say that research is pretty important for an application. NYU in particular has a very strong research focus and is a strong research school. I would say it's very important, but I think when people talk about research, they think, oh, you have to have like, you know, a publication or this or that, but it can be more meaningful to actually just be able to describe in depth like your contribution to the research and why you were an integral part of the team, even if it hasn't led to a publication yet. So when applying to medical school, it is a good idea to get involved in research, but again, it is much more worthwhile to be able to describe in depth like your contributions to the research than just to be able to show however many publications you got. I mean, obviously if you have those, great, but if you don't, I wouldn't be concerned about that. It's not an end all be all. Again, I think what helped me was being able to speak to my research and speak to like specific places I've gone for the research and things like that. This is going to be the first in a series of videos I do on answering commonly asked questions about med school. Please let me know what you think about the video. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If there are any questions that you want to ask me that you want to be included in the next video, just comment them below and I will try to incorporate them. Thank you so much. Bye.